Beautiful!
So beautiful.
Plini!
Let's never do that again.
That must have been. How out of your comfort zone is it playing Boomer Blues with me?
100%.
Where you can have some revenge later. I'll try and play over a Plini track at some point later.
Deal.
Plini is in the house.
Hello.
I gather you've come over to just hang at a wedding from Max from Neural.
Yes.
Wow, a long way to come, man.
It is, and I hope he appreciates it.
Do you appreciate it, Max?
Yeah.
No, I saw pictures actually with the Rabir in his kilt and I guess Max must have some Scottish heritage.
He is Scottish, I think. I don't know when he moved to Brighton, but he's Scottish. Him, Dan, who's also from Neural, a bunch of Neural people, all in kilts. I guess it's like a traditional thing.
It's cultural appropriation, isn't it? If Dan wears a kilt or Rabir wears a kilt.
All with this little satchel thing that has a flask in it.
The sporran.
Is that what it's called?
The thing on the front that looks like a dead beaver.
Yeah.
Yeah, sporran.
Is it meant to have a flask in it?
Yeah, I think that's where. I mean, I think that's where Scottish people keep all their sort of,
junk
bits that you need.
Right.
In a pinch.
The best part was traditionally you don't wear underwear. And so the ceremony, Max was seated and I was just staring right between his legs. Just hoping that he wouldn't open them. You got a glimpse of what the bride was getting later.
Yeah. You're just like, wow. I must admit, that is the tradition apparently. No pants if you're wearing a kilt. I don't know how many Scottish people, live that particular dress code.
I'm doing it today. So.
Good man. Well, look, I've sort of been familiar with you as one of those sort of virtuoso players that comes along every so often who maybe gets more famous in the music industry for perhaps some of the companies that they've worked with, so Neural and Strandberg and stuff like that. But so tell us a bit about, because I'm not sort of super familiar with some of your earlier music and how you got into it. So look, I'm kind of interested in, did you grow up in Australia?
I'm from Sydney. I was born in Sydney, still live in Sydney.
Cool. So when can you remember listening to music as a kid and when did that sort of sense of, I wonder what's that sound coming from, which guitar players were you listening to, that sort of thing? I
remember when I was probably like 5 or 6, I used to listen to the Beatles a lot, and that made me want to play drums. So I don't know why. And so I used to like hit everything around the house and just beg my parents to buy me drums until they caved in, and it was the worst idea ever. I was shit at it. It was really loud and it went nowhere, but I tried for a few years. And then when they finally were like, please stop, we had a ukulele in the house, which I used to play. And one day I played it so vigorously that the whole body collapsed into itself. So we went to a music store to replace it. And I saw a guitar on the wall and I was like, oh, maybe I'll try that. So I got this half or 3/4 scale classical nylon guitar. Started playing that when I was 9, I think. And at this point, I started hearing like Green Day and Blink-182 and like Oasis and stuff. Maybe on the radio. I guess there was like one rock station. So I started trying to learn that stuff, like learning power chords, downloading tabs off the internet. And then as I got more into that, I started buying guitar and metal magazines, which is where I found all of this stuff that I like.
Now you're I think on the cusp of that. You're not one of the crazy kind of young guys coming through in it, but you're that first generation, I think, of pretty sort of digital native. So you learnt by watching YouTube. You would have played guitar by using plugins and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Did that, looking back on it now, perhaps with sort of a bit more experience of other equipment, do you feel like that gave you an advantage or a disadvantage compared to perhaps guitar players that would have grown up having to go and get normal lessons or whatever?
I think yes. When I first started recording music, Misha from Periphery, I think had just started Periphery, but he was kind of known for having done everything himself, like using programmed drums, using digital guitar stuff, like the first Pod before that. And And I think if not for that and like the first Animals as Leaders album, which was all digital as well, at least I think it was, I don't know if I would have had an example of like, you can do this at home. So I don't know how I would have figured out like how to record music or like who to go to and how to do all that stuff. So there was this great example of like, hey, you can do it yourself. So I was like, oh, I can do it myself, which is like such a sick way to start.
Did you miss out, or perhaps you were doing it anyway, but did you go straight from learning in a sort of a digital environment to sort of collaborating and jamming with people online, or did you have normal, bands at school where you were just doing stuff in a village hall or whatever?
Yeah, I never played a gig until it was my own music, which is quite weird. But I did have some friends that I played like Queens of the Stone Age and Mastodon and Lamb of God songs with.
Brilliant.
When I was a teenager, but we never did a show or anything.
Right.
Yeah, so the first gig I ever played was my own music, luckily with a band who are all from bands, but it was terrifying and unenjoyable.
What was it about? Because I think Misha is sort of one of the pioneers, I suppose, of the kind of take that his band had on metal, sort of pushing it more perhaps towards more complex time signatures and more complex arrangements and stuff. What did you just the first time you heard that? Did you just go, "Wow, that's it"? Or was there? Can you sort of remember there being Did you get into some sort of earlier prog bands or whatever before you got into that?
It was probably Dream Theater.
Right.
So I think what happened was I found like electric guitar as its own world, and then bought Guitar World magazines. And found like Joe Satriani, Steve Vai, John Petrucci, Yngwie, and downloaded all their music illegally. And I think then I mainly fell in love with Dream Theater, which is like all the complex, crazy stuff. And then it was Periphery and Animals as Leaders and like Between the Buried and Me, who were kind of taking that but making it a little bit heavier or more modern.
Yeah.
And I also went back a bit too to like Yes and like older school prog bands. But yeah, it was kind of like hearing the crazy time signature stuff done heavier in a more metal way that I guess caught my ear. And
that's what's had the sort of the more that's been what's been more inspired you to sort of go into the styles of music that you're writing yourself now?
Yeah, and I think what's funny is the first music I ever released wasn't very, and it's still not very heavy. So like I came from absorbing all this heavy music, but when I pick up a guitar and play, it just comes out all like light and airy for whatever reason.
One of the first things that you said when you came into the studio here was that you'd never played through a traditional amplifier, which, and again, I hear that. I don't know if you must have met John Connon through the Neural.
Yeah. So, also at the wedding. Yeah.
Oh, was he?
Yeah.
Okay. So John is the same. So but prior to
Digital
working
John.
for us, he'd never played an amp either. And I guess as a guitar player who grew up playing amplifiers and then has plugged into a few digital products, more in more recent years, I find that kind of just mad that anyone could just not play through an amplifier. But how do you even? Are you of the school of thought of like it just doesn't matter, or is it a different beast if you're playing digital to an amplifier, or what's the? How do you think it's shaped the way you play?
I think it does matter because I did John Petrucci's Guitar Universe camp a couple of years ago, and I played his rig in an empty auditorium, and that was the most powerful I've ever felt in my life. But also just the maintenance to have that rig with, like, it's big and it's full of pedals and all this stuff, and it's hard to move around, and I guess you'd want to be in a kind of big room to play it. It's just not practical for me in where I'm at in life. But I think that's where I'll end up, like having a room like this. Or...
But what was the... Because I think when I think, and again, shoot me, I think you can see guitar players who've grown up playing through digital stuff have tended to push themselves in a certain direction musically, to be more technical, to be more complex. And I sometimes wonder if that's as opposed to perhaps just trying to be more dynamic and soulful is the wrong word, because I appreciate that, but just trying to sort of get more out of one note.
Yeah.
And I wonder if that is something where, if all you've done is ever listen to music through relatively small speakers or headphones, as opposed to loud speakers and big amps, do you just don't, I don't know, you're not even conscious that there is that much dynamic space to play with, so you push in a different direction to make different music. And I only, just given that obviously you are one of the, the people who I think who've grown up and produced music only in that sort of fashion, I wonder if you are conscious that that is the direction that you pushed in terms of stylistic.
100%. And that's why I don't have a tone knob. It's because I'm so afraid of things that aren't picking evenly with max volume that I don't know what I would do with the tone knob. But yeah, totally. Especially because the way that I learnt guitar was through recording through digital stuff, like quietly in a bedroom. The stuff that I could get to sound good was like compressed, overdriven, trying to play as tightly as possible. And so I missed out on like feedback. I've never had natural feedback in a recording. I have to fake it with like an EBO or harmonics.
It's really, some people I think when I talk to them about it get quite defensive about, whether they've only played through an amp or only played through digital, and it feels like you're quite sort of open-minded and at ease about just, it's a big, there is another journey that you sort of want to go on at some point before you can say, yep, I've tried it all. And now I can form perhaps a more balanced opinion on it.
Yeah, I think because my focus is trying to make music that I think is interesting and sounds good, I pick the things that I feel I'm going to be able to do that the best with. So for me, that's digital stuff. But like some of the music I'm working on at the moment in the demos is the first time that I can remember I'm like picking lightly on clean parts or like rolling the volume off, because I'm getting less afraid of like what that'll do to my digital gate and that sort of thing. And so I guess once I'm comfortable with that, maybe next time I'll go into a room like this and try it with an amp and get more.
Or turn the gate off completely.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Just live with the noise. I find that really, I mean, you are an infinitely better guitar player than I am if we're just talking about from a technical, your understanding of theory and your technique and your speed and stuff like that. But it's interesting again that you say you wouldn't think to necessarily turn the tone down, and even more recently just picking more softly and stuff.
Yeah.
And yet my whole learning was almost the exact opposite of that.
Yeah.
Because I knew I didn't have big chops, but I did know that I could pick softer or I could pick harder, and then I developed some voice, if you like, that sounded better. It's mad to me that it's sort of, you can get as good as you are, and yet what I consider a real fundamental is almost something you're going to have to come back to, and which is it's mad. Oh, and how was that then? So which came first when you were? I assume obviously the neural thing must have felt like a more natural path to just go from what were the early plugins that you were messing around with, like Guitar Rig and stuff like that?
Yeah, Guitar Rig, I think it was 4 or maybe 3 was the first one I tried. And then basically the first reason that I ever worked for money was to save to buy an XFX. That was like the first thing I ever wanted in life. And so I used that till I guess Neural came out. And that was basically it.
So I can kind of see that journey, and maybe we can talk about the Plini plugin and what was your involvement with that and what were you trying to achieve. But like I said, I can kind of see that journey from Guitar Rig into XFX into, that sort of makes sense. At some point, the Strandberg thing must have been slightly more of a left turn, because presumably for a while you were playing, you just had traditional You know?
Yeah.
So what was what after your little 3/4 size nylon
Yeah.
string or whatever? What's been the guitar journey?
First thing I got was a fake Strat.
Mm-hmm.
I forget even who made it, but it was like the cheapest Strat that comes with an amp that has like a crunch channel that sounds bad, and then there's a clean channel that sounds worse. And I was like, that was it for a few years. And then I think once it became clear that I was semi-serious about playing, I got an Ibanez S series. Mm-hmm. Because it was like the Joe Satriani but cheaper. Mm-hmm. And that had 2 humbuckers and a whammy. Mm-hmm. So that was my first time with a floating bridge. So I got to do all the like Steve Vai tricks and stuff that I loved. Mm-hmm. And then, so I got that I think for my 15th birthday. And I got my first Strandberg in 2014 when I was 22. Maybe.
So that was back then when Strandberg was a pretty unknown brand. So were you just sort of following Ola on sort of old-fashioned versions of the internet, dial-up or something like that, or reading about him in magazines?
Pretty much. So once I've been playing this Ibanez for years and years and recorded music with it and thought, okay, it's time to get like an even better guitar. Mm-hmm. And I'd narrowed it down to either a John Petrucci signature. I really liked the look of Parker Flies, but I don't think I could find one to even try in Australia. And then I saw that Misha and Tosin and this band Scale the Summit were all using Strandberg. So I was like, oh, this whack-looking thing must be good if all these guys are using it.
I didn't realise Misha had gone through a Strandberg. The Tosin I can sort of see because his Abassi concept guitars, you can sort of tell have taken some inspiration from this. But I didn't Misha's sort of gone back now, hasn't he, to just using old school stuff.
There was this period, maybe he's still like that a bit, but there was this period where he would just have every guitar under the sun and play them and talk about them. So that was like a great way to get, because it's like a guy who's making music similar to what I want to do. So if it worked for him, it could work for me. And so at the time, Ola was doing them in his garage, like one by one. Yeah. And then had just started to do production. So I emailed him and lied about how good I was and was like, I need to skip the waiting list to get a Strandberg. And he was tricked and it worked. And they did 2 at the same time and one went to Misha. It's pretty cool. From an old US factory, which they don't use anymore.
When you first got the Strandberg, did you immediately gel with the Endura neck and the sort of the balance of it, or was there did it take a little time to
it was pretty
get
quick.
comfortable with it?
It was strangely quick, and that's something that I do now because anytime I come across someone who's not married to a guitar company, I'm like, try this. And pretty much everyone who has tried it is used to it within a couple of minutes, which I think is cool.
I surprised myself with how quickly you just forget that you're playing a guitar that doesn't have a traditional round, back of the neck. Yeah. So I can see that. And was your first Strandberg a fan fret model as well, or is that something that you've started to do more recently?
Yeah, it was. It's fanned from, like, I think from a from a Les Paul scale to a Strat scale, so it's pretty minor. You probably know what that means.
You're talking about like the extended range down on the sort of
I
bass
think
strings,
it was 24 to 25 or something. I don't know. But it's quite gentle on the 6-string. But since then I've got True Temperament versions, and I want as weird as it gets.
I'd love to dive into just your thought process when trying to write music. Are you, I guess, like most guitar players, do you just noodle and then if an idea goes somewhere? So give me an idea of kind of like, because if you're not sort of rooted in sort of blues and blues rock and stuff like that, what is noodling? Is it classical pieces? Is it? Because I mean, I know what noodling is for most rock guitar players or rock and blues guitar players. It's all minor pentatonic kind of noodle, and that's fine. And then every so often a lick or a riff comes out, and you go, "Oh, that's interesting. I'll go down that." But I don't. Is yours a different approach, or just noodling different things?
Probably to do with tones. I'll see if I can do something, because I made this awkwardly far away from myself.
That's all right. Notice I don't have to put a password in to make my amplifier.
They should password protect amps. So the thing is, lead guitar playing is maybe what I'm more known for, and that's the thing about myself that I despise the most.
Really?
So, well, not necessarily despise, but like I never write solos first. I sit down and play lead for fun, but where pretty much all songs come from is like clean tones or riffs or that sort of thing. Because I find if I'm noodling as a lead player, I'm not going to come across anything new, but if I can find a chord progression or like a rhythm or something that feels different, maybe I can. So
yeah, this is all fascinating for me. It's just what the process is. Is it, you know, starting with melodies or riffs and licks or soundscapes, or you know.
Like that's not very guitar. So I might
immediately though. It's an inspiring sound.
Yeah.
To just go, oh, where's this going to go? And you're just playing like an A string there or something.
Yeah, and so for that, and then it's like, oh, is it major or minor? Like it could be. And like that could be the riff. Or
so yeah, again, and you're intentionally there sort of feeling the sound has inspired some tension of some sort. So
yeah.
You know, this is not going to be a love song, is it, with that kind of a sound?
It depends how you love, but yeah.
Well, there is that. But, you know, yeah, I get it. And that sound, you're using your Plini archetype.
Yeah.
Plini archetype plugin for Neural.
Yeah.
I guess the other massive advantage that you've got with a digital setup like that is the minute you go, oh, I'm into something here, one keystroke and you're presumably recording.
Yeah.
As opposed to, you know, quick, get my phone and see what.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so where else would that go then from there? If you thought that was the sort of bones of the idea, are you looking for some sort of melody to go over it or a riff to try and, I don't know, bind it together? What's the...
Well, I think what you said is quite interesting, that it's probably not going to be a love song. So maybe I would have the intrusive thought of like, what if it were a love song?
Okay.
How could I bring love into this riff?
And how I feel like this is where this interview needs to go. So we should start with that. Maybe we could loop that, and then we need to find out that. So where does love go into a song that sounds angry and tense? That's just the normal relationship, isn't it?
Well, I don't know much about love, so. I guess a more romantic place to go, but so maybe having like this first riff that's more chromatic. And then to the sweeter.
We have to loop that because that's the song I want to see what I can play over the top of, something like that. That sound that you've got sounds like the cross between like a Miku pedal and a cello. It's like it's got what I don't even know what is the effect that you're using there.
So that's just a fuzz pedal and an octaver, so it's down an octave.
so because it's got that very human vocal texture to it.
Yeah.
But it sounds great, and I love anything with an octave on it. I think just changes the tension, if you like, within the note choice.
Yeah, so for example, go up an octave. It's fun because it's different to how you expect a guitar to sound.
And I do like so what have you sort of done there, just from a a theory point of view, to change it from the angry, tense opening bit to the more, the sort of the more uplifting, sort of you know, hopeful second part?
My theory knowledge is limited, but I guess even though the guitar's in C sharp, I think of it as D because I just think of like guitar tabs in my head, basically. So pretending that I'm in D, I'm thinking of it like it's just a part in D where you can do anything on top and it doesn't really matter. Like it could be major, minor, ugly note. And then going down to the relative minor, which is the B, which is actually B flat. And kind of playing...
I'd love if we could try and just loop that round, and just even if we just spend 2 minutes and don't... Do you need a foot switch or something, or a pedal? Or...
So you want me to loop just the pretty bit?
No, but if you could play it so that there were the two parts, that would be great.
One beat off the whole time, which is funny. But
so we've kind of looped that thing round. I got to ask you as well that your plugin. I've not tried your plugin before. Most plugins, or at least that I've come across, are trying to emulate, you know, amps with some history or famous artists associated with them. Was that not the objective with your plugin, or is that in there as well?
It is in there because I guess it had to be based on something. But what's funny is that it was all based on digital tones that I used, and then they did their magic, and I think they did use real amps to build off. But yeah, it's kind of like, here's the rhythm tone that I like, make it do that. Here's like the drive pedal, the fake drive pedal that I use, the reverb, that sort of thing. And then what's really funny is my favorite lead tone doesn't use a cab. An amp. It's like physically shouldn't be possible. So I have... Yeah, it's just the guitar goes into a compressor and then a drive pedal and then a cab, but there's no power amp or head involved.
I kind of feel it's topical at the moment because JHS have just released a pedal designed to be the input channel strip on a Tascam Porta Studio, and so there's a lot of talk.
Do you have it?
Yeah, somewhere. But there's a lot of talk at the moment of just guitar players just using any method that they can to make their guitar, to record their guitar, and that actually it's all good and worth exploring. And yes, the way a Porta Studio distorts and compresses is quite different to an amplifier, but not better or worse, just different. So you get different guitar tones, and I guess the same thing's happened here. And it's probably a good segue if you've got a lead tone now. So what is your brain saying to you to play? Let's say that piece of music, that thing is that. Let's say that the objective here was either to write a melody over the top or just a straightforward guitar solo over the top of it. What are you kind of thinking? Where's it going to go?
Let's see.
I'm sorry for putting you on the spot
No,
like
that's
this.
all right.
I'm sort of intrigued. I've never really done an interview where we've sort of delved into this sort of thing, but I think it's intriguing to just see how your brain works.
the thing where I'm at currently is avoiding lead guitar as much as possible. So like the album that I'm in the middle of making, I haven't fully decided the track list, but at the moment it seems like it takes till the 4th track before there's a guitar solo. Because I don't know if I'm just trying to be clever or something, but it seems like for someone who's known as a lead guitarist to make you wait like 4 songs before you get it. Seemed like an interesting idea.
Skip, guitar solo.
So my instinct now is I don't want to play a lead, but since you've asked,
I think instrumental music in the guitar world, I can see why you want to do that, because it is almost now, and I'm sort of joking and I'm sort of not, in that is what I think we do as guitar players. When you get an album of your favorite virtuoso guitar player, it's like it starts, and then if it's not crazy interesting, it is just fast forward to the guitar solo, because that's the bit that you really want to hear, and then it's almost like, oh. So I can see why you've kicked back a bit and gone, but is that the thought process? Just really, really, the song itself and the composition of the song has to be everything, because there is not going to be a guitar solo in it. Yeah,
that's totally how I feel. Like more like a soundtrack or something like that, or like I guess a classical composition where no single instrument necessarily has to be going crazy for it to be interesting, but everything could be working together. But I guess for this,
go on, just let that pent up guitar solo that's been kept inside. I really like that. I like as well the. I mean, again, this is just in case anyone's not sure. This was literally you totally on the spot and no preparation whatsoever. But I liked it, and I like again how you change the way the solo goes from a one feels awkward and angry and like unhappy, and then straight into something quite a bit more. Just
romantic.
Yeah, maybe. I wasn't going to say that word, but that's cool, man. And so on the songwriting, you're obviously putting all the instruments down yourself now on your own music. So,
I'll demo all the instruments, but then the drummer and bass player from my live band will do those, and I have a guy that does string arrangements, and I get a bunch of keys and synths as well.
Oh, okay. So it takes on a much bigger production then. But on the early stuff, presumably it was much more.
Yeah, it was all just like on a laptop, all programmed, and yeah.
Did you have to teach yourself to play a bit of keyboards and stuff like that?
Yeah, badly.
Right.
But yeah.
Or you ever used the guitar, like MIDI guitar and stuff like that, to put those parts down?
Actually, my bass player who's also mixing the album recommended me, and I forget already what it's called, but it's a guitar to MIDI plugin, which is meant to be really good. There are a few spots on the album where there was space for a solo, but I was not liking anything I was doing, so I made like a fucked up synth sort of patch, and I was like, oh, this is way more fun.
I think, again, I do think those sounds are, but the videos we were shooting this morning before you got here, I've just put a big fuzz with an octave on it, and all of a sudden it's just the sound that comes out takes on a life of its own.
Yeah.
That then just, I don't know, your brain goes, oh, it's just, I'm not going to play what I would play if I didn't have that sound on it.
Yeah.
And I think that I think is the beauty of the plugin that you're using there, is it does just inspire a different approach. Tell me about this. Let's talk about this album then that you're mid-writing.
Yeah.
So this is the one where you're sort of making a conscious effort to make it less solo approached. Is there an artist that you really like or have listened to that you feel sort of does something similar? You know, builds a guitar player who avoids, or it doesn't have to be a guitar player, just a composer or a musician that does that well, where there's, you know, it's guitar based but not reliant on solos.
I mean, in a way, Animals as leaders, just because the guitar parts are so ridiculous, it usually takes, like, you could go 3 minutes through a song and it's just the most insane rhythm parts, and then it'll break out into like a chord part with a lead. I liked the way a Steve Vai album always has lots of different kinds of songs. Like, there'll be a ballad, there'll be like an orchestral thing, there'll be a classic rock sort of thing. So it's kind of the same for me, like a mix of lead guitar sort of stuff, like rhythm guitar, technical parts, more soundtracky stuff, maybe more like fusion-y.
I think that was, I never massively got into any of those sort of 80s virtuosos, but when I did interview, I would say I preferred Satriani's kind of stuff, because it would have conformed to more of a mainstream kind of rock style song with a guitar solo in it. And I used to find the Steve Vai stuff less accessible. But when I interviewed him and I sort of got back into it and scratched the surface a bit, you do realize that from a composition perspective, he was like a completely different approach to songwriting to Satriani, you know.
Yeah.
And I respect Steve now probably more as a composer, and, you know, obviously as a brilliant guitar player as well, but he's a very sophisticated writer, and I can see why you might want to, again, perhaps take more of a leaf out of his book than maybe the Satch, you know, rock and roll big guitar solo songs.
Yeah.
But how much longer do you think there is before that album's going to be finished?
So it's fully written.
Right.
We recorded the drums about a month ago. The string stuff is happening at the moment. I have done about half the guitar, and I have brought an interface on this trip to hopefully do the rest if I'm not distracted by food. But it should be done this year, and it'll come out sometime early next year. Are you
obviously going to produce it all yourself, are you?
Yeah, with my bass player and mixer, yeah.
And what do you like as how do you know when the song is done? You know, do you just, some people say it's almost, you have to make a conscious, like, if I don't stop, I'll never stop. And other people go, no, I'm happy with it.
Yeah.
It's done. Which camp are you in?
I don't really know. Like, now that it's done, I don't know how I figured out that it was done.
Right.
I guess it's partly intuition. Like, even the length and like the number of songs, I just had a feeling. Like, I think my last album was 8 songs, so this one I think should be 9. So I'm making it 10 just to feel like I've done something more substantial. And that's not because anyone told me that's the case. I could probably equally think, well, last one was 8 songs, so I should do 8 songs again, so that it's like thematically similar or something. And it's kind of the same for feeling a song is done. It just like, yeah, that seems right. And that's the thing that I guess I'm getting better at the more I do it. Like, some of my earlier stuff is probably like a minute too long or a minute too short.
Right.
Whereas now I feel like I put enough shit into a song, like just enough.
Is there an itch that you want to scratch at some point to put vocals on any of your music?
100%. I've been thinking about this.
Your
ages.
vocals, or?
Fuck no. I'd probably maybe sneak in a backing vocal just to feel like I went out of my comfort zone. But no. Probably after this album. The thing there, though, is I have no idea how to write a song, like a song with vocals. Ages and ages ago, I started working on something with a vocalist, and I sent him an idea, and he was like, that's great, but I've rearranged it. And basically, instead of me having like a riff that lasted for 5 seconds before it changed, he repeated a bunch of stuff. And I was like, the things that you can do in a song.
I think that's I think as guitar players, it feels like you learn that quite late in your guitar playing
musicality.
Yeah, as in actually listen to the vocal line in almost all the most famous songs ever.
Yeah.
And it's repetitive.
Yeah. And it's awesome.
And it's awesome. Yeah. And it's probably a hook. And that's, you know, and I do think that's why most instrumental music, you could perhaps argue classical music is different, but instrumental rarely becomes mainstream.
Yeah.
Because there's too much. It's not simple enough. Yeah. And all the greatest hits are all pretty simple at the end. But I think that's a challenge, because I think when you look at the human voice is almost it's the most unique and versatile kind of instrument that there is out of all of them. Yeah. And then of course you add in the extra layer where you can tell a story in words as well, and so you've got a whole another dynamic of a depth, if you like, to introduce. Would you write? Do you think you'd write words, or do you think you'd just find a singer that interpreted your music? I
think I'd leave the words to them. I would probably. I mean, it depends. I've talked to a few vocalists about doing this and what they would want from me to start it, and the response has varied between a complete instrumental and I'll sing over it, or sort of the initial idea and then we can make an arrangement. So it'll be interesting to do. I think because a lot of the music with vocals that I don't listen to much progressive music with vocals anymore. I listen to a lot of electronic that sometimes barely has vocals. I'll just have one hook in a chorus or something like that. So I think I'd like to, at least on a few songs, try something that isn't conventionally a song. The vocals can come and go, and the structure doesn't have to be necessarily verse, chorus, verse, chorus. But yeah, I don't know. Weird experiment. Do you want to sing?
It's another one of those things. I think everybody secretly wants to, but not many people have got the courage to do it. And then I think even if you do have the courage to do it, you probably still then soon find out that maybe you don't sound. I don't know. Great singers are just I envy someone that can just open their mouth and sing something beautiful. It's I'm sure everyone would want to be able to do that.
And it seems like there are fewer really sick vocalists around. Sort of the same way that this technology makes guitarists play a very clean and introverted style, just get everything right and don't make eye contact. I feel like since auto-tune's easy, there are a lot of singers who can sing for a record, but there aren't as many just, I don't know the word for it, but just David Lee Roth making random noises in between lines.
Could you imagine if we had more than one David Lee Roth? Anyway, the world's not big enough.
Yeah.
I know what you mean, but fun enough, that's a conversation we've had about the guitar a little bit, which is, and it feels like I'm jumping on some sort of Rick Beato bandwagon here, and I'm really not. But I think he expresses the sentiment really, really well.
Yeah.
Which is that everyone is trying to be too perfect nowadays.
Yeah.
And I don't know why. Is it just that comments now? I guess if you released an album 30 years ago, and 1 million people bought it, 1 million people couldn't, but 1 million people wouldn't write to you and go, "Here's what I thought." Whereas now you put a piece of music out on YouTube and 1 million people watch it. Potentially 1 million people will give you their comment, and I sort of feel like artists like yourself have, whether that pressure is subliminal or conscious, it's I can't make any mistakes on here. Because somebody will, that'll be 3 minutes 46 seconds. You microsecond too late with it. I don't know, whatever. Whereas maybe that just wasn't happening on a Led Zeppelin record. But is that? How do you? Is that a conscious fear of yours when releasing music, or is it something the older you get, the less you give a shit?
Bit of all of it. Something that I think is really helpful is my whole band are very like sarcastic and amazing musicians with high standards. So if I write something that's not interesting, I feel the pressure that like if I'm going to ask them to play this music, it should be good, and I'm not like phoning it in. So that is one thing that helps me kind of, and also just to do it for myself, to feel like I'm writing stuff that's interesting. In terms of playing well, so like I've just put out this live album, which has plenty of wrong notes and mistakes in it, because I feel like that is a better representation of the live show. Like for the most part, it's really good. But there are bits that are like...
Yeah, there was a danger there. You really weren't selling the live.
Yeah.
But fortunately, for the most part, it's really good. So that's good.
But there are some bits where it's like, oh yeah, that's the wrong note, or like that was rushed or whatever. Because otherwise, what would be the point of doing it, I guess?
I think that is such a clear sentiment for me. And I don't understand why so many bands fear that. It's like... a live show should be different to a record.
Yeah.
It should have more energy and more sporadic, so, you know, and therefore inevitably more mistakes.
Yeah.
And if the intention is to do a live show with no mistakes, it's like, what even is that? That is the one where it's like, don't make eye contact, focus. I don't get it.
Yeah. Which is what we do when we play as well. I think my band are kind of annoyed that I make a live album because I don't know that I told them that we were recording every show. So like there's lots of overplaying like stupid shit that's now committed to Spotify forever. But I think that also like that makes it fun. I think maybe another thing is that the way people like me and maybe people younger than me make music now is so clinically like clean that is a really hard thing to translate live, and even like metal itself doesn't sound very good. Like it's not a very good sounding genre live because it's just it's so loud, there's so much distortion. Unless it's a simple riff or like the mix is really good, it's gonna be hard to make like a technical death metal song sound better in a room than in headphones. But the thing you can do in a room is like go crazy and like throw your body around and that sort of thing, which I haven't figured out how to do.
Some of those, I've not been to a Periphery show, but seen a few on YouTube, and I think that was an interesting, because they obviously are playing a lot to a track. So there's obviously not necessarily the opportunity to just go too far off piste.
Yeah.
But they do go mental. Yeah. You know, in terms of physically. Yeah. Which makes the whole thing different to listening to the album. Yeah. In the way it should if you're in a live show. So I think it sort of can be done, but as you say, if the objective is to just nail that unbelievably difficult guitar part and nail it live, then you have got to give you like 100% concentration on just...
Yeah. And I think that's why Periphery are awesome, and also Animals as Leaders. Like, Animals as Leaders are much more stationary on stage because this shit is so hard. But they have a drummer who improvises a lot. So you get to see, like, guitarists not struggling, but, like, playing some of the hardest shit to play on a guitar possible. And then a drummer who's like, fuck you guys, I'm going to improvise over this. Like, try and catch up sort of thing. Which is, like, spectacular to see.
I sort of feel like they're one of the real... you know, bands that influenced a whole host of sort of modern genres of music, and I've never really done the Animals as Leaders sort of deep dive, so apologies to Tosin, but I should do. Whilst we've been talking, I know how we're going to end this video, so we'll either take that track or we'll do another one, and I want to play your stuff, you should play my stuff, and I just want to sort of see like what it does, how deeply out of our comfort zones. But does it actually pull something out of you that you end up going, oh, I wouldn't have played that if I'd have had, you know, we'll see. Yeah. But I kind of feel, let's do the 5-minute obligatory, why should somebody buy the Plini plugin, and why should somebody look at a Plini signature strandberg, of which we have two here, the Mirage and the regular version. So you start wherever you want to go.
Plug-in, no-brainer, because it's cheap as hell, and I don't think you can sound that good for as cheap. Although there are a lot of different neural plugins, but I make money when you buy mine, so that's my sales pitch.
I got to be honest with you, again, as someone who didn't grow up using plugins, so I really know very little, and on the odd occasion I've sort of plugged into Guitar Rig and stuff like that. I never really, it is for a beginner, I think, isn't it? Your plugin, and in fairness, all the neural plugins that I've looked at are unbelievably good sounding, quite professional. You know, it's not, you know, it hasn't got My First Drummer built into it and all the other sort of stuff that you might get in more entry level stuff. And you're right, it's like $99 or whatever it is, and there you go, have a load of great guitar sounds. It's a bit like, why wouldn't you start on something like that now, as opposed to spending $99 on a crappy guitar amplifier in a store, you know? And
it'll sound good in small headphones, small speakers, big speakers. I use it live.
That surprised me. So you were, again, I always in my head, you very occasionally see sort of memes on Instagram of people with a laptop out, you know, playing live with it. And I never, you know, I don't know, if anything, they're just like, you know, look at him. But that's you're quite, not maybe a full show, but for a clinic tonight, for example, you just use the plugin on your laptop. Yeah. And it's obviously fine. You know, you always have hundreds of clinics and stuff, and it's not unreliable, or it's just...
No, and it feels good to play, especially like wherever the clinic is, like in a big room coming through a PA, it feels nice and airy and lyrical and whatever. I mean, for the touring, I use a Quad Cortex, which has my plug in it now, which I use for some of it, but I use a bunch of the other amps too. Buy the plugin.
Buy the plugin. And then tell me about, just, you know, very quickly, what are the key sort of things that you did differently on your Strandberg to buying a traditional Strandberg Bowden?
Yeah, well, I guess on this one, there is a moon. On that one, there is also a moon. Both glow in the dark. The graphic on this glows in the dark. All of this is very important to what it sounds like. Both of these, actually this one doesn't, but this I put Fishman pickups in. That's my personal preference, which I think they'll start coming with too.
Is that what the Switch is doing now, the voicing on the Fishman?
Yeah, so I've got this, puts it on voice 3, which is like the single coil thing, and then this is between 1 and 2, and then this is just a 3-way switch. And the whammy bar, I mean, it's based on the standard model. It's mostly visual stuff and a little bit of the control.
Did you choose the woods that it was made up from that one, or is that a conventional Strandberg?
I did, actually. So the first Strandberg I ever got was Koa top, and I think Koa became harder to use, or was like, you're not allowed to use it, I can't remember.
Right, okay.
So this is an Australian Blackwood top, which is, I think, really sustainable and Australian, like me. Well, I don't know if I'm sustainable, but so kind of
humans are the least sustainable species on the planet.
Although on that note, this particular guitar is pretty much all I play, and so I've avoided needing to buy more guitars, having much gear, because I have this compact setup, which always feels like inspiring and fun to play. Which I think is the most important thing, because if you don't love the gear you have, that's going to be a huge barrier to wanting to play, which I guess is, having a music store.
It's, to be honest, it's the one thing that we have to try to tell parents who are buying for their kids. It's like, you have to buy the color and the shape that you know your kid's going to love. Yeah. It's like, it's all very well the dad going, well, the sensible one to buy is this one, like, it's like, well, okay, you just courted the chance of your child wanting to learn to play it,
And music's not sensible, or at least it shouldn't be.
That's it as a quote for the day. Music's not sensible. All right, and roughly, what was the quick difference between the Mirage? Because this is a bit more affordable, isn't it? So glow in the dark graphics, which is obviously unbelievably cool.
Yeah, I forget the exact specs, but it's based on the most affordable Bowden model. Right. I think so, yeah. So maybe it's a solid body and maybe less deluxe woods, but still sounds and feels great.
And obviously not the Fishman set.
Yeah, they're the OEM Strandberg ones, I believe.
That's what a Mirage looks like. Comes with a rather nice gig bag. What's your guitar tuned to, by the way?
Drop C sharp.
But normal tuning other than that? Perfect. Cool. All right. Well, look, man. We got the clinic obviously with Plini tonight, so I'm looking forward to that. And do you do clinics kind of all year round, or?
I kind of do it as an excuse when I'm in a place.
Right.
Like I remember we met at the NAMM show, and I think you just said come do a clinic, and I was like, oh, I'm coming to a wedding in the UK. I'll be in the UK.
So
okay.
we'll do one anyway.
And then as soon as I agreed to it, I regret it immediately because I could just be like having lunch or walking around a park right now.
Well, it is sold out. So, you know.
But then as soon as I do it, I'm like, this is awesome. I should do this more because you get questions from people that make you think about things. And it's like I get to learn. So, yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm looking forward to tonight. And again, so if you see Plini doing a clinic or a gig in a place near you, hop along. I'm going to go and check out some more of your music as well. I do want to hear this. Again, I'm interested in how this new album comes out. Can you pull off that sort of guitar album with a distinct sort of reduction in the number of guitar solos? We should see. It could be a masterpiece. Who knows? I'm looking forward to seeing that.
Masterpiece of shit.
I don't think so. But yeah, look, let's see. I'm interested to hear you play my guitar through my amplifier, and I want to play yours and vice versa. But look, thanks, man. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for watching. Links below to everything you've seen, used, and listened to on this video. And yeah, let's see where this goes. To play anything dissonant, it just doesn't fit within the sort of the blues rock thing. But I'm feeling
absolutely.
I'm feeling like that, particularly the first part of that track. That they're the words I suppose that I can only. So the second part feels melodic and something I think I could probably play normal stuff over and it would sound fine. The first part I've got to be intentionally dissonant.
Yeah.
And actually it's the notes that create more discomfort and tension work better. So even though it feels completely alien to play. So I'm just sort of, I don't know. I also feel as well, what I really want with this is volume. I feel like this needs to be loud. Play it round again, and I'll just see. blues licks.
Yeah.
As well.
Well, blues is like the best guitar. It's like the best version of.
I want to
the
hear.
guitar.
Sit over here because I'm fascinated anyway, even without the track. So don't worry about hitting. All of the pedals are through the switcher on the
Bottom.
on the bottom.
Standard tuning. I haven't played standard tuning in years. So
Yeah, I mean, so I don't really have. So if the volume is the volume all the way up.
Yep.
Yeah. So if you want lots of gain, do like the where it says tumnus.
Yep.
And that's quite. You're good. You can play blues guitar, no problem at all. So what is that?
What's going on in the background?
I have 2 low volts of reverb, normal and
awesome.
abnormal. So normal is on all the time, and then if you hit reverb, it's epic reverb. That's not a pedal combination I would. So you've got the fuzz with the octave on it into
What's
a.
that? That thing's sick.
That's just an amp with reverb. What do you mean? The extra amount
A
of.
super long trail.
Yeah, that's this polyverb. So there you go. There's an Australian guy for you. I'm sure.
Yeah.
His name is what's his name, Pete? Loki.
Yeah.
Loki. Sorry, who runs a pedal, but like a. How would I describe poly? It's all that next level up of like slightly out there kind of pedals.
Yeah.
And the verbs actually is probably one of the simple ones he does, but it's convolution reverb, so it's real IRs of places around the world, and that particular preset is one that I just love, and it's got a really long decay with almost like a shimmer on the decay. You just want to take the octave off, it's that one. But it's the most immersive reverb that I've kind of used as a pedal, just into the front of the amplifier as well. And if you just want to get some movement on there as well, this brings in a little bit of. So, what is alien about that?
Nothing. I want it.
Because I get. Am I? So it's quite loud in here, and we've got this massive stereo kind of spread. I can see you getting into this,
Yeah.
but I can also feel there's a difference between playing your style of sound, if you like, through two sort of studio speakers,
Yeah.
versus through an amp that's behind you, moving a bit more air.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's a good or a bad thing, but I think there's more to be afraid of.
Oh, yeah.
With that type of rig than there is this type of rig. So
Yeah.
I think you, it forces you almost this to be a bit more considerate about where are you going to go. But I think when you overcome that, all of a sudden you get into it's all there. Every soft, tiny.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't. Pete and I have these conversations all the time.
Yeah.
Should guitar players almost be forced to learn through 100-watt valve amplifiers, because it's the full nakedness of playing. There is no hiding place. But I don't know. I mean, what I loved the most there was seeing the smile on your face of almost just like, it is fun to have a big, loud, juicy valve amplifier. What are you?
We want to set you up into a stereo rig so you can just hear two amps at the same time. We sit right in the middle.
Okay.
And then experience.
Is there a stereo pedal on your...
He's a blues guitar player, really.
Yeah.
That was cool, man.